Ranking Member Davis, Full Committee Chair DeFazio, and members of the subcommittee. Thank you for inviting me to participate in today's important discussion on the state of the trucking industry. As Deputy Chief of the Colorado State Patrol, I oversee our state's CMV enforcement program under the Motor Carrier Safety Assistance Program. Today, I am here representing the Commercial Vehicle Safety Alliance, where I serve as a past president. CVSA represents state agencies who enforce motor carrier safety regulations in the United States, Canada, and Mexico. CVSA has a number of recommendations aimed at improving CMV safety. I'm sure many of them will be included in the discussion today. However, from our perspective, it all boils down to one thing: providing the motor carrier industry and the enforcement community with a regulatory framework that is clear, safety-driven, and enforceable. Every day across the country, CVSA members work with industry and FMCSA to reduce crashes and save lives. At the same time, the trucking industry continues to grow and becomes more sophisticated every day. Finding solutions that ensure the safe transport of goods is, needless to say, complicated. We need a regulatory framework that can keep pace with the changing industry. Unfortunately, regulatory activity at the agency, one of FMCSA's basic responsibilities, has come to a near standstill, and the necessary work to maintain regulations is suffering. For example, in 2016, FMCSA sent a letter to a member of the broadband service industry indicating that wireless and broadband services qualify under the Public Utility Hours of Service exemption. CVSA petitioned the agency in May of 2017 to update those regulations to reflect this decision. Last March, the agency granted our petition, yet we are still waiting for this simple definition change to be completed. This may seem like a small thing, but it is just one example of a number of similar scenarios that build upon one another. In addition, high-profile initiatives like rolling out the ELD rule consume the agency's resources, especially when they are met with a high volume of exemption requests. As a result, and in place of actual regulatory action, the agency has come to rely heavily on interpretations, personalized letters, informal electronic communications, enforcement guidance, frequently asked questions, and other means to provide enforcement and industry with clarity on issues that arise with the expectations that the regulations will be updated in the future. Unfortunately, that update often never takes place, resulting in an inconsistent understanding of the requirements. When the regulations lack clarity, they are ineffective, creating confusion and inconsistencies in enforcement, which in turn leads to unnecessary conflict between enforcement and industry, and ultimately erodes the CMV community's trust in the regulatory process. This lack of clarity in the regulations is further complicated by the growing list of exemptions being issued by various segments of the industry. While we understand the motor carrier industry is diverse, the motor carrier safety regulations are just that, safety regulations. And any exemption granted should be based on a clear, critical need, not merely because it would be more convenient for the industry. This is not to say we oppose all exemptions. We recognize that there are times where granting an exemption is appropriate. In those instances, FMCSA has a process in place to allow for the review of exemption requests based on the applicant's ability to demonstrate need and the ability to maintain an equivalent level of safety. We encourage members to point their constituents to this established process rather than incorporating exemptions into legislation. Exemptions not only have the potential to undermine safety, but they complicate the enforcement process and confuse inspectors, drivers, and the industry alike. While one individual exemption may not seem like such a big deal, they add up and result in confusing, contradictory, and inconsistent enforcement of the regulations. To address these concerns, we encourage Congress to impress upon FMCSA the importance of the agency conducting its regulatory responsibilities in a timely manner and ensure the agency has the necessary resources, technical staff, authority, and time to do so. In addition, we encourage members to minimize the number of exemptions written in legislation and to consider the practical impacts of any new requirements or programs to the enforcement community's ability to conduct our critical life-saving activities. Those of us in the enforcement community, including FMCSA, as well as those in the regulated industry, cannot achieve our mutual goal of reducing crashes and saving lives without clearly written safety regulations that are based on unbiased data and designed with safety as the top priority. We look forward to working with all of you to address these challenges. Thank you.